When we got back from our wedding ceremony, I felt excited. It was finally our special night. My husband, who always told me he was a virgin, went straight to shower. I thought it would be nice to surprise him. So I wrapped myself in a towel, took a deep breath, and walked to the bathroom with a smile. But as soon as I opened the door, he jumped back, shouting in panic. He quickly covered himself with his hands and grabbed a towel, wrapping it around his waist as fast as he could. I froze, feeling confused. Why is he acting so scared? I thought. I'm his wife now. Then he looked at me, his face serious. Why would you just barge in without knocking, knowing I'm in here? He snapped. I was taken aback. Knock? But I'm your wife, I said, feeling hurt. It's our wedding night. Isn't this supposed to be okay? He sighed, glancing away. Can you please excuse me? I'll be out in a minute. No, honey, I said softly, trying to keep things light. I want to join you. He shook his head, his voice sharp. Why would you want to join me? My heart sank. Feeling awkward, I left the bathroom. But as I stepped out, I heard the lock click behind me. He had locked the door. After a few minutes, he came out, grabbed his pajamas, and went back into the bathroom to change. I couldn't believe it. He didn't want to change in front of me. It was strange, and I felt my heart pounding with worry. Is he really just shy? Or is something wrong? When he finally finished, I took my turn in the shower. I wanted to look my best, so I put on something nice. This was our wedding night after all. With a little nervous excitement, I went to him, leaned in, and gave him a gentle kiss. He kissed me back, but it felt different, hesitant. Then, just as we were about to get closer, he stood up quickly and went to turn off the light, plunging the room into darkness. Why did you turn off the light? I asked, feeling unsettled. I prefer it dark, he whispered. But it's so dark, I can't see anything. Maybe just turn on the blue light? I suggested. He was silent for a long moment. Finally, he muttered, I'm just shy. Can we please keep the lights off? Shy, I repeated, puzzled. You're the man. Why would you be shy around me, your wife? The air felt heavy with tension, and my heart ached. I wanted to make this moment special, but his constant hesitation made everything feel so confusing. Our voices grew louder, and the argument stole away any warmth we had. Finally, he turned to the edge of the bed, lying down with his back to me, picking up his phone. I lay there in the dark, questions and hurt swirling in my mind, until, somewhere between worry and exhaustion, I fell asleep. I woke up, feeling the emptiness beside me. My husband was nowhere to be found. I rubbed my eyes, calling his name softly, but there was no answer. I looked around, checked the bathroom, but he wasn't there either. A feeling of worry crept in. Could he have left because of our little argument? I grabbed my phone, dialing his number. But then I heard his phone ring, right there on the table. He hadn't taken it with him. So, he must be close by, I thought, feeling a bit relieved but still anxious. I decided to step out of the room to look for him. As I tiptoed down the hall, I heard low whispers coming from the sitting room. Curious, I moved closer and peered around the corner, trying to make out the voices. My heart skipped a beat when I realized it was him, talking with his father. Dad, he said, sounding like he was holding back tears. She refused to let me touch her with the lights off. I tried to explain, but she kept asking me to turn them on. His father sighed, patting his shoulder. Son, you should have made it special. Maybe even blindfold her if the darkness makes her nervous. Don't let this slip away. But Dad, I don't want to lose her, not again, he replied, his voice trembling. I was puzzled. Lose me? Why would he lose me? Then, to my shock, he pulled down his pant, showing his father his manhood. His father leaned closer, inspecting carefully. My heart raced. I couldn't see exactly what was going on, but it felt strange. What is he hiding from me? You'll need to be careful, his father whispered. She shouldn't see this until you're sure she's carrying your child. Once she's pregnant, she'll be less likely to leave. She'll feel bound to you. I stifled a gasp, pressing my hand over my mouth. My heart was pounding now. What are they talking about? Why wouldn't he want me to see? And why is he so desperate for me to stay with him? I couldn't hear much more as they lowered their voices, so I quickly tiptoed back to our room, slipping under the covers, my mind spinning with questions. I lay still, pretending to sleep, my heart racing as I tried to piece it all together. A few minutes later, I heard him come into the room. He stood by the bed, watching me silently. I felt his gaze on me, heavy with something I couldn't understand. He didn't know I was awake. He stood there for what felt like forever, just watching. I felt the urge to open my eyes, to confront him, but something held me back. He sighed softly, bending down closer to me. The next morning, I woke up to a gentle kiss on my cheek. He smiled at me like nothing strange had happened the night before. I smiled back, pretending too, as if I hadn't overheard his midnight chat with his dad. "It's our honeymoon," he said with a bright grin. "Yes, I remember," I replied, putting on my happiest face, even though a strange feeling sat heavy in my heart. We got ready and went to the beautiful honeymoon suite. The room was stunning, decorated with flowers, soft lights, and music playing. It almost made me forget everything. We sat down, ordered food, and laughed, playing some games together. It felt like things were perfect again, but I knew deep down there was something he was hiding from me. After a while, he looked at me with a mischievous smile and said, "I have a surprise for you." "A surprise?" I asked, pretending to be excited but feeling a strange knot in my stomach. "What is he planning?" "I want to make tonight unforgettable," he whispered, leaning closer. "Close your eyes just for a second." I hesitated, but I closed them. Maybe he really does want to surprise me with something nice, I thought, trying to calm myself. Then, I felt him gently place a soft cloth over my eyes. "What are you doing?" I asked, my voice a little shaky. "I'm taking you to another world," he said, trying to sound romantic. "Just trust me," he added, probably thinking of what his dad had advised him. But I couldn't shake off the uneasy feeling. Still, I kept my eyes closed, letting him tie the cloth tightly. As soon as he was done, I felt him begin to undress, and I waited. My heart was racing as I decided to act on an idea. I made sure he wasn't looking and quickly tugged the cloth off my eyes. He turned in shock, panic flashing across his face as he reached for his clothes, but it was too late. I saw him, my husband, standing there, and my heart froze. I couldn't believe my eyes. He had 2 genitals, both male and female. My hands covered my mouth and I gasped in disbelief. I felt a chill spread through me as I stared, my mind swirling in confusion, hurt, and anger. He looked away, grabbing a towel, shame written all over his face. "Is this what you've been hiding from me?" I whispered, my voice breaking. He didn't say anything, just looked down, his face filled with guilt. "I'm so sorry. Please forgive me," he said, his voice barely a whisper. "Why didn't you tell me before? Why did you keep this from me?" I asked, fighting back tears, my voice filled with betrayal. I was scared you'd leave me," he confessed, looking completely ashamed. "I thought if you found out, you wouldn't want to be with me." "So you lied to me?" I shouted, feeling the hurt mix with anger, my voice rising. "You deceived me. You and your father planned this whole thing. You tricked me into marrying you." He looked at me with tear-filled eyes. "Please don't leave me. We can figure this out. I can still be a good husband to you. Please." But I was already packing my things, my hands shaking as I tossed my clothes into my bag. "Please," he begged, his voice breaking as he stepped closer. "What will you tell people? What will you say if they ask why you left me so soon after our wedding?" I stared at him, my own tears falling. "I'll tell them that you're not the man I thought you were. I will tell them you lied to me, that you deceived me. I will tell them a marriage built on deception doesn't last. Kenny, I loved you. I would have still loved you regardless if you told me, if you were honest. I'm sorry I can't do this." He broke down, sinking to his knees, his face wet with tears. "Please don't do this," he cried. "They'll laugh at me. They'll mock me. Please stay. We can make this work somehow. We can manage." I stopped, my bag halfway packed, watching him, feeling torn. I had loved him, and yet the secrets, the lies, how could we come back from this?
When it comes to premarital sex, it's one of those choices that has a whole lot of people on different sides, and let's be honest, it's kind of understandable. Waiting or not waiting? That's the big question, right? A lot of people wonder if it's even worth it. Society says, hey, why not? It's normal. But on the flip side, you've got this moral perspective that says wait until marriage. So, which do you go with? Let's start with the waiting until marriage idea. Now, waiting definitely brings a few things to the table that can be worth the wait. First of all, there's the excitement of saving something special, like holding out on that surprise gift until the big day. One of the biggest reasons people choose to wait for marriage is because it can strengthen the emotional side of the relationship. Think about it. If you're not rushing into the physical stuff, you're focusing on other things, the conversations, shared values, and whether this person is actually someone you want to wake up next to every morning. The idea of waiting comes from a desire to build a relationship on more than just physical attraction. And yes, for Christians, it's about honoring God's design for marriage. But even if you're not looking at it through a purely religious lens, waiting can bring a unique bond that makes you stronger as a couple. You get to know each other's character, quirks, and dreams without letting physical stuff take over too soon. Again, as a Christian, you have that peace that comes with honoring God's word. Now, on the flip side, choosing not to wait can also be about understanding each other better before the big commitment. Let's be real. Some people feel like knowing how you connect physically helps build a complete picture of the relationship. It can be a way of discovering more about each other and finding out how compatible you are on all levels. If we're honest, some people find that experience brings them closer and helps them understand each other's needs and comfort zones. And there's definitely something to be said about learning each other's boundaries before stepping into a lifelong commitment. And just like everything that has advantages, waiting or not waiting, each comes with its own disadvantage. From this perspective, we can see the potential downside of waiting. Your sex life might not turn out as you expected. For instance, even if your partner is honest, let's consider a situation where he is not good in bed. Is it really feasible for him to be like, "Oh, babe, I need to tell you something. So, listen, I might not exactly be, how do I put this? I might not be exactly so good in bed." I mean, honestly, what would her reaction be? Would she be like, "Oh, thank you for sharing," or, well, thanks for the heads up, I guess? Just slowly realizing that it wouldn't work without even knowing how bad it is? I mean, this topic can be a bit complicated, obviously. On the other hand, not waiting also has its challenges. Rushing into physical intimacy can complicate things. Emotions can become tangled, and sometimes physical closeness creates a false sense of connection before the relationship is truly ready. If things don't work out, it can lead to regret, confusion, or even bitterness. For Christians, waiting is part of God's design for marriage. The idea is to protect us from the hurt that can come from moving too fast. And avoiding early physical intimacy can help us prevent sexual intimacy with multiple partners before marriage. In the end, the choice to wait or not is deeply personal. Whatever you decide, make sure it's your own choice and not influenced by peer pressure. So what do you think? Let me know in the comments. And remember, no matter how you choose to do relationships, just keep it real.